Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined for the first time by my guy, Daniel Hoctor, a.k.a. A Fallen Apple, a.k.a. one of the most rockin' staff writers on Omega Metroid. Daniel, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on. I've loved listening to the Omega Metroid podcast. So it is fantastic to be on here and talking some video games. We're going good. It's been a fantastic weekend. We're kind of nearing the end of fall, but I love this weather right now. It's kind of dreary out right now, but overall it's been really good. But what about you? How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. We've got like 3 feet of snow in Calgary right now, so it is very dreary. But yeah, it was great to have you on. Like so many of our Omega team, you kind of started off as like, hey, this podcast is kind of cool. Got a little bit more involved in the community, and here we are. So I kind of love that. It's almost like a small little success story. I love that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So yeah, no, I'm really glad to have you. And if you've been checking out a lot of our written stuff over on OmegaMetroid.com, chances are this man has penned at least a couple of those and doing a great job at it as well. So yeah, really good
Thank
to
you.
have you on the show. I'm sure this will be the first of many appearances.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
So yeah, we are actually here to revive a series that I feel like we haven't talked about in absolutely forever, and that is inspired by Metroid. And we've got a very good game on the docket for today. But I was thinking maybe Daniel first before we get there, just as a little icebreaker, tell everybody your Metroid journey. How did you get into the series? How did you like what was your entry point? What was the point where you were just like, man, this Metroid stuff is pretty good. I like it.
So, I did play. I can't remember all the way back. I'm a little on the older side, guys. I played the Nestroid. I did. I really didn't pick it up though. Like really dive in. I would say until a little later. I it was actually maybe like just after college. Like I played Super Metroid. I played a little Metroid Prime, and they were great games. I really dove into it though after college, and all of a sudden I'm like, huh. I'm gonna play this one, and then you know what? I'm gonna play them all chronological order. Why not?
Yeah.
And then like it was actually Metroid 2. Man, I was blown away. I was playing the 3DS eShop version. That's black and white,
Yeah.
and I remember coming to the finally the Metroid Queen. I'm like, holy shit! Like, oh shit! Sorry, I forgot about swearing and stuff. But anyways, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like that, like on a Game Boy, and then I'm like, okay. So then I played the other ones, and then even through Other M, But that's kind of been it. Ever since I've just been truly hooked on Metroid. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I went and bought the cartridge, like the Game Boy cartridge, because
nice.
I think this was before there was like a real eShop. So I tracked it down, and I had like an OG Game Boy still from like when I was a kid. I think it was indestructible. Like I dropped it on the floor like multiple times, it still works. So yeah,
These things are
that's
great.
I know. Those would make a pretty decent weapon actually. If you
Yeah,
if you needed to
I do
defend
have one.
yourself.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have one because I picked up. I wanted to play the colored version because 3DS only has black and white.
Hmm.
I have a Game Boy player on our GameCube, and I wanted to check it out. So I do have one too. But those things, yeah, those things are sturdy little buggers.
Yeah, definitely. So no, I mean that's great. That's like I actually think that's a common theme because I remember back way back when I was kind of getting to know Doom, he was like, yeah, one of my favorite games is Metroid 2. So
Yeah.
it really go figure. Like that game really is an awesome quality Metroid title. Well, let me ask you a question. This is completely off topic. Have you ever played AM2R?
I have. I've only played it once though.
Okay, okay. I
I
love
like
that
it.
game. That might be one of my favorite Metroid games. Like like including
AM2R.
yeah, like including like the official Metroid games. It's actually pretty wild how incredible that game is. But today we are pivoting away from Metroid and going to something Metroid adjacent, and we're going to be talking about an awesome Metroidvania. I'm kind of spoiling it because I just said it was awesome, and usually we kind of like to tease whether it's good or not. But I really enjoyed this Metroidvania, and this is a Metroidvania that our pal GameWyrm suggested to us, and it's available right now on the eShop on the Nintendo Switch. It's actually available everywhere. I'm pretty sure it's on Steam. I'm pretty sure it's on most major consoles. And the game is called Islets, and it is a very charming Metroidvania where you play as a mouse and you are trying to reconnect the world together. So I didn't know. I knew when I first saw this game, when GameWyrm pitched this game, I took a look at the visuals, and I'm gonna throw a game out at you, Dan, that I don't know if you've played, but it's been on my mind a lot while playing this game, and that was Tunic. And Tunic is a game that came out earlier this year, and it was in a lot of ways like I don't want to say a Zelda clone, but it was like very inspired by Zelda. And this game kind of like gave me a lot of similar vibes to Tunic, except that it was a Metroid version. It was kind of like the Metroid clone version of Tunic rather than the Zelda clone version. I don't know if you've played Tunic at all, but even comparing the two of them in my mind, I was like, okay, well, we're already starting off on a pretty high note because I really, really like Tunic.
I haven't played Tunic. I've seen the visuals though, so I know where you're coming from. It's actually that one. That is a game that's on my list because that also looks like that, like just a charming, cute kind of game like this
Yeah.
one. Aesthetic wise, you know what? I actually started to really get for some reason, and actually, there's a couple of things, and maybe I'll talk later. But I was getting some Spirited Away vibes. Have you seen Spirited Away?
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
I don't know what if it was the there was like actually there's a boss that you fight and it reminded me very much of one of the Spirit Guardians. But then you got the typical the spirit masks and I don't know, just something about the overall the vibrant colors and the theme, the spirit's landing world, all of it just made me start thinking Spirited Away and a little Hollow Knight, but I don't know, that's what I was getting from it for a while.
Yeah, so I could definitely see Spirited Away. I was thinking of that same area that you just mentioned. Actually, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's an area in this game which is spectacular looking. I actually had a lot of comparisons to Tunic and obviously Metroid. But then like a big one for me was Ori and the Blind Forest. Seemed to kind of there's a lot of that kind of DNA in this game as well. And man, I actually think that was like the last inspired by Metroid game that we did, and that was at least 6 months ago. So we really got to ramp up our inspired by Metroid production here. But yeah, so I mean, let's talk about this game. We'll start at the beginning and we'll walk you through why you, as a Metroid fan, should probably check this game out because I think it's really worth your time and it's definitely a fun, solid, like sure it doesn't overstay its welcome adventure. So yeah, so this first of all, the game. The when I fired it up, one thing that I really appreciated about this game is like you can completely customize everything, like the controls, which is it sounds like such a small thing, but like man, that's like it goes such a long way in like today's day and age, like not having a weird button assigned to the jump, like yeah, I mean Metroid Dread, unfortunately doesn't have that, but I wouldn't say that Metroid Dread is alone. Like there's a lot of games that just don't have that option, so it's really nice to see like a game that kind of features accessibility.
I appreciate it. Honestly, was one of the things I noted too. First thing I did, I mean, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna change that because I mean I just like my certain layouts and games why they don't. I mean, come on, it's just let us customize our controls. It's just because you want to have that your normal natural feel when you're playing. So I appreciate it. I really like the custom controls, at least. That was nice.
I totally agree. So yeah, that was the very first thing, and that kind of got me off to like a positive start with this game already. And then you start playing the game, and first of all, visually, the game is very charming. Like I don't know, how would you describe it? Like it's simple, but it looks like everything's kind of hand drawn, but it flows very nicely.
Oh, I actually what I had written this down because I kind of caught me off guard. It's simple. I think that's a perfect word for it. It's not over stylized. I was actually I was watching like a Hollow Knight playthrough. I'm like, man, because I got similar vibes in terms of feel, but not look. And I was looking, and I'm like, oh, because like Hollow Knight, you've got like all these overlays and all these like rare, like and it just there's all these little nuanced things. It's cool. It's nice, and it's not a bad thing. But Islets really comes across as just simple. You've got the ground, which I mean, you notice how the ground itself, it's almost like Super Mario World like, where it's like there's not a lot of structure. It's just the ground where it's like it kind of goes like this. Just I don't know how to explain it too well. But it's just I think simple is a good way to put it.
It really is like, and actually I feel like you could basically apply that to like almost the entire game itself, and like there's a lot of like simple yet like tried and true things that this game does, and they do it very well. Yeah, just like visually, it looks kind of like a mix between maybe what you said, like a Ghibli film, and like maybe a little bit of Ori and a little bit of Tunic. It's very pleasing. It's simple. It's nice to kind of as you run along. It catches your eye without being too much, which I appreciate because sometimes in a game I find when you have like very precise combat that you need to be doing, if there's like a lot of stuff going on in the background, it's like, like is this, you know what I mean, like is this part of the what I need to dodge or whatever. So I really liked the presentation of the game.
Speaking of the backgrounds, I have to say those really stood out. I mean, you're going through. I mean, they did a. Well, actually, I say they. It's one person, by the way. If you didn't know that, Kyle Thompson, I think was his name, right?
Yeah.
This is another one of those just single developers. He did the art, the code, the world design. It was published through Armor Games, but it's still just one dude making this. But I mean, the parallax scrolling that he did with all of the backgrounds is so nice. There's areas almost where like I feel like you can get some lore kind of from those backgrounds, like the statues that are like holding the swords and things like that. It's really nice. It's I mean the front end is definitely casual, simple, but it's still overall like a really nice visual. It's just it's
The opening area is the one that reminded me of Tunic specifically, with like the hero in the background. I have a confession to make to you, actually. When GameWyrm told me about this game, I looked at the box art and I was like, oh, it's a game that you play as a dog. And I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was like, that's not a mouse, that's a dog. And I was just like, I was telling my wife, like, yeah, I'm going to play this Metroidvania about dogs. And then, like, I start playing it, and it's like, you're a mouse. And I was like, oh. But, yeah,
I caught your stream, by the way. I saw you, and I'm like, you said, yeah, I'm streaming a game about dogs. I thought you were making a joke. I got in there, and I'm like, huh.
No.
I had to look it up, like, are you a dog or are you a mouse?
Yeah, right?
Sure. Yeah, you're a
I
mouse.
don't know.
Yeah.
I might be the only person in this world that thought that was a dog, but damn it, I kind of, they look a little dog-esque,
a couple
right?
times. I mean, they were all like, some of the ears, like they're almost like a little more like cat ears at times. Like
Right.
you know the statues sometimes they look almost like cats that are like. I was very, I literally had to look up, like I had to go back and like wait, and I wrote, like finally had to write it down. Okay, you are a mouse. Like it tells you at some point.
Yes, it
So,
tells you
you're
like
not
right
alone
away,
there.
actually. But yeah, so I was a fool. But yeah, so there's a lot of like statues in the background, like you said, that like very much reminded me of Tunic, with like the way that the mice are kind of designed. They reminded me of just like the little fox that you played as. So again, I was like simple, but like you kind of mentioned in the background, it's like very very. I would say it's also simple, but it's very like aesthetically pleasing.
It is.
And I would say that like simple as a theme, like I said, we could probably talk about that theme throughout this entire game, but I feel like it also applies to combat as well. Fairly simple, but like tried and true. So, you know, you don't have like a ton of different attacks, but you as the game goes on, you like kind of eventually level up a little bit. But I mean, it's just about attacking and dodging. Like that's pretty much the whole crux of combat. There are some extra, you know, you can use. I don't know. There's a bow available to you, but I can't say that I use my bow like a ton. Did you?
I did. I started using it a bit in the boss fights. Because I did the playthrough in hard. I wanted to go in on hard.
Right.
And there are times where like the boss will like go up and you're kind of out of reach. And I'm like, oh hey,
Yeah.
you know what? And you just kind of you ping them a couple times, but I don't know. There here and there. I mean, there are some of those floaty around like regular enemies where it's like, oh man, I don't want to die, so you hit them from a distance.
Yeah.
I did use it here and there, mostly going around stabbing things with the sword though.
Yeah, that's pretty much the exact scenario I use my bow. It's like I got low health, I don't want to get too close, or like if the boss was kind of floating away, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna beat on this guy while he's there. But you know, like again, so you do have the bow option, and you do get a couple like melee upgrades. You could do like the Link from Smash Bros. Down sword strike, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you get a couple other like. If you go and upgrade yourself, you could like when you hit enemies, there's like an explosion and stuff like that. So there is some pretty cool stuff, but for the most part, it is simple. But again, tried and true. You have to be very precise, and you have to be quick as well. So combat, I feel like, is simple, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think this, and to your point, this is because I agree. This is kind of everywhere, every topic we talk about today. I think that is going to be the overarching theme is that it is kind of simple. I think He had, he goes through a lot of ideas, but he doesn't dive too deep into any, for better or worse. I mean, I think like in the instance of combat, yeah, it's nice to have kind of a casual, simple combat. You run and roll, kill things, and you can kind of fly through it. But there's times where it's like, I wouldn't have wanted a little more. Like some of the collectibles. When we talk about collectibles, there's just some areas where it's like, I wish there was a little. I wish it went just a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But the combat, though, yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah. And here's my biggest critique of the game, actually, since we're kind of the combat is simple, but there are, and this is pretty much exclusive to boss battles, but there are certain times where, and actually this is pretty much exclusive. Let me back up even further, actually. So the world of Islets is there's two different parts. There's the ground, which is like the traditional Metroidvania level, and then you can go up to the sky, which connects, the sky in between the 5 islands. And you have a little airship, and it's actually like fairly charming, and it's cute being in this like busted, broken down airship or whatever. But you're not very powerful in the airship, is the point. And you just have, at the beginning, you don't even have a railgun at all. You just have nothing, and so you get to do some boss battles in the sky. And I think that the term that would describe those boss battles is like bullet hell. And I do not like bullet hell like at all. Like I'm not horrible at them, but I don't like them. So that was probably one of my biggest gripes about the game is like these sections I can't stand these sections. They're not my thing. I don't really enjoy doing them. I like boss battles that kind of have like a bit of strategy or whatever, rather than just like so close, like, oh, something coming here, got to dodge here, got to move there, whatever. Yeah, so I didn't really care for that, and I would say that at times, some boss battles on the ground replicated that to an extent. Not like the same, not the same as in the sky. Those were like egregious bullet hell boss battles, but there are times when you're battling a boss and there's like a million projectiles coming at you, and you got to dodge roll out of the way fairly precisely. So that was the one thing that I didn't really love. That's actually probably the only thing that I didn't really love about this game.
Yeah. I mean, I actually enjoyed the bullet hell against the pirate ships. Mm-hmm. But on the ground battles, though, there's actually one in particular. It's the garbage, the robot monster thing. I mean, he's at one point. So bosses all go through 2 phases. They've got their first phase and their second phase, like typically when you get them half health. The second phase, it's like, okay, here's everything from the first phase plus this, and it's like I mean, in the way it was working, there were so many things that were like offbeat, because like you get like this random laser thing, and then this other thing, and it's like, oh my god, and it just became like, maybe I'll get lucky this time. That there were some boss, and I mean a lot of the boss fights were like that, but that one in particular, I did not like him. No.
Yeah, like there was a point where it got like too much with all the stuff that was going on, but I was going to save this for later, but I guess I might as well say it now. I do think, to throw Islets a bone here, is that because I got stuck on a couple bosses like a bunch of different times, right? Like I was just like, these guys are like, there's too much going on. I keep dying. So there usually is at least something else that you can do, or like something else that you can go explore and power up and anything like that. So while I was stuck, I at least would be like, okay, I'm gonna leave and like go do something else. So it wasn't like those games where you get to something and you just like you can't progress because you were stuck at this boss battle. So I will say, at least for the pacing of this game, there usually was a couple different like decent options to that you could do if you did find yourself at one of those bosses where you're just like,
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I do think that actually overall the pacing was okay. I mean, in terms of the fights, I like I said, I was on hard, so rightfully so. I mean, I shouldn't be beating him first try every time. So, but he also, the developer, there's a save point right before every boss fight, which is fantastic. So even if you do die, you go literally 3 seconds before, and you can try again, and you can try again. And that was kind of the way you had to do it. You had to like learn the attack patterns, things like that.
Yeah.
But most times when I was actually finally like, my God, I don't know, like, 10th time on some of these. And most times though, when I'd finally beat him, I'd have like a sliver of health left, which I think it just goes to show how tight the battles were. Like it was a good thing. It was like, whew, like, it was like, you feel good because it's like you walk away from that, like the skin of your teeth type thing. So it's a good feeling. but you had to kind of struggle through the again and again and again. But overall, it is a good experience overall, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, like you kind of nailed it. Like this game is, you're not meant to beat the bosses the first try. You're meant to die and die again and die again and learn with each time. It's actually, I found it kind of similar in some ways to the Ravenbeak boss battle, where like nobody's going in that boss battle and beating it the first try. Like he's gonna kill you in phase 1 or phase 2 or phase 3, and you kind of got to learn like his attack patterns on each phase. That was kind of like every boss battle in Islets, I found, to an extent.
Yeah.
Like I think like towards the latter part of the game, when I was like really rocking, there might have been like one or two bosses that I was able to beat first try. But like other than that, like you kind of go in and like, at least for me, I was playing and like I wasn't even necessarily trying to beat the boss on the first like go around. I was just kind of trying to like observe what they did so that I could,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like get that knowledge and beat it later. So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, there is a save station outside of every single boss room, and we're talking like the quick saves too. So, like when you die, you like instantly respawn. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna go into like a game over. Would you like to continue? Yes. Like it's like all right, you're dead. Like let's go back to the action. So I did
Yeah,
appreciate that, and I did appreciate this too. So there was obviously this is a Metroidvania, and there is a lot of Vania in this Metroidvania, specifically with the way that beating enemies actually matters, because when you beat enemies, you get, I don't know what they are, little spirit orbs or something like
yeah,
that,
something like that.
currency basically. And so
Right, right.
what you can do is take that currency and you can go back up to the sky and you can either strengthen your sword or you can buy a potion to increase your health, or actually there's like a bunch of different things that you can buy with this. You can upgrade parts of your map, stuff like that, which we'll talk about later. But so they're usually, even if you are stuck and there's, you've done absolutely everything there is to do, you still can go and beat up some enemies if worst comes to worst, and power up your weaponry if you really are stuck. So I
Yeah.
did appreciate that as well, because sometimes, like, not that I think that this happens a lot in Metroid games, but like if you were to get to a boss in Metroid, like there's really not anything you can do, because like you're as powerful as you're going to get when you get to that boss. Where here you can go around and you can level up and you can do a bunch of stuff to at least kind of get some momentum going. So I did like that a lot, as well as kind of it incentivized you to like keep fighting enemies and not just like scroll past them. Because one thing that I found in this game is like the physics are like they're almost Super Mario esque in the way that you laid out earlier, where like you can start off running and it's kind of slow, but like the more that you run, like the quicker it is to build momentum, and thus the quicker it becomes
Yeah.
to like jump over and skip like large sections of each room and each enemy. So it does kind of reward you for slowing down and fighting.
Yeah, and so I gotta say, just speaking of that though, with movement, one thing this game does, I know a lot of games do this. I hate this though. Is did you notice that it's if you do your roll, if you roll and roll and roll and roll, it's actually faster than if you were to do your standard run and walk, like your standard walk, which I don't like that. I wish games didn't do that. I wish there was a penalty. Like, I wish it was not faster to just kind of roll and roll and roll. Because it's like, I don't want to do that. If I'm like playing a game and I want to, like, you want to use your fastest method, I don't want to keep rolling, pressing a button, roll, roll, roll. It's just silly. Like, I wish there was like a longer delay after the roll, or maybe make your run walk just a little faster to kind of outpace it.
Yeah, that's fair. I played too much Ocarina of Time rolling for the
Oh,
Hyrule
God.
Field for that to be like an issue. So I will say, at least your little mouse didn't go like after each single
Yeah,
roll
I
that he
was
did.
about to say, hit, ha,
So
hit, ha.
so yeah, so I mean, like, overall, like, gameplay I feel like is very solid, very like it's stuff that you've seen before, but it's very like it's just done in a good way, and it kind of brings to mind to me. It's like, all right, well, these are like these are staples of this genre for a reason, because when they're done well, they really work. And I think, like, yeah, bullet hell aside, for me, I really liked everything about the gameplay actually in this game, like the core gameplay, fighting, exploration, movement. It all really clicked for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think for the most part, in the overall picture, it was a good experience. There are some parts of this that I felt like it maybe struggled a little bit. For example, I don't know if you want to talk about abilities right now.
Yeah,
Or do you
let's
want to
just
save that?
let's go
Yeah.
right into ability.
Um,
Sure.
but there's two in particular. Well, maybe three, but there's two in particular. So first off, and so your typical like Super Metroid and Metroid, you get the wall jump, right? In this game, you have the wall climb.
Hmm.
which when you unlock that, you can now climb any wall in the map, which it brought me thinking of like the spider ball. It's like it's just at some point it's just I don't know. Did it open up too much all at once? I found myself climbing every wall just so I could find. I guess I want to find 100% it. I want to find all the secrets.
Yeah.
And I wish I don't know. I think between the two, I prefer a wall jump. It's just I don't know something about that. Did you like the wall climb?
Yeah, I did actually, and I
You
think
did?
so. I can understand why you'd make the comparison to the spider ball, but I think you've heard me talk about the spider ball before. I think that's like the worst ability in Metroid. Actually,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
and specifically in Metroid 2. By the way, I'm not talking about Metroid Prime because it's awesome in Metroid Prime.
It is. It
But
is.
the thing that makes the spider ball so gruesome is like you have to get into morphle mode and like activate like you have to press a switch or a button or whatever to get actually sticking to the wall, and like it's very cumbersome to get to the wall, and switch between regular morph ball and spider ball, and like sometimes you want to bomb and then quickly get spider, so like nothing about it works for me. I would more so equate the wall climb to like the space jump for me, because like it this when you get the space jump, like you can freely explore to the top of like every single room and check for every single ability and stuff like that. And I feel like the wall climb more or less unlocked almost every room, with a few exceptions if you had like a very ginormous room with like something in the
Yeah, yeah,
center.
yeah, yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with that. You know what, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really have a problem with any of the upgrades at all. I will say that there are, I would say, two in particular that you get them and you use them for like a couple points on the map where you need to progress. And once you do that, you don't really ever use them again. And that's the one of them is you get an upgrade for your arrow, and you can shoot a target and then switch places with the target, which is actually pretty cool. But like you don't, I feel like you don't use it very much. And then at the last power up in the game, you get kind of like the charge attack for your sword, where you can break some indestructible blocks. And I feel like you don't really use that one a whole lot either, beyond like the obstacles that the map have put in front of you. But I do think that there are some other power ups that kind of make up for that. But yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
overall I was pretty okay with what we got.
The charge attack, I actually was really disappointed with that. I mean, it felt like a whimper almost. It was like it would be like, in Metroid you get the like you can visually and really like audibly, that's a good word. There we go. But like visual and audio, you can feel Samus charging up. In this game it was like a whoop. It was just like a whatever kind of almost like a whimper type thing. I wasn't really down with it. I didn't use it that much.
Hmm.
Um the other ability I didn't like, it was the cloud arrow. So that you got
Okay.
two abilities for your arrow. You had that one you talked about, the teleport one, but then the cloud one, and that. So I was using that at times. I was going through the garbage area, and I felt like I was almost cheating. Like it was because it was like I feel like the developer he had put up all these different like traps and things like that, and sort of things you had to like jump through to kind of get through the corridors. It was kind of the challenge of the area. And meanwhile you've got this cloud here, and it's like, no, I think I'll just go over it all, never mind. It's like,
Hmm.
eh. And that one just didn't, it almost felt a little OP for me at the time when I got it.
I
um
can see what you're
it,
saying. I could definitely
yeah.
see what you're saying. I think for me, I was like, okay, like we're getting this. I think it's one of the last expansion. It's one of the last abilities that you
Yeah.
get in the game. So at that point for me, I was like, this is fine. Like I don't need to do all these traps that I've already done in like the Spirit's Grave or like the other areas. Like I could just like it helps my momentum kind of keep going. So I was okay with that, and I think that there were even some like instances where you use that ability and like you'd have your cloud in it. So this power up shoots out a small platform basically, and it lasts for about, I don't know, like 3 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that, and then it
It
disappears.
dwindled away.
So there's some pretty cool instances where like you'll be in a room and like there's like spikes coming from the top, there's spikes coming from the bottom, and you shoot your cloud arrow in the middle, and like it kind of blocks the spikes or the lasers or whatever it happens to be, and you kind of have to be fairly precise like navigating through that. So I see what you're saying, but I think there was enough utility in that I was like, okay, I'm pretty down with this.
It's a good point. It worked with the lasers too, because like those similar areas I know you're talking about, and like the laser to be shooting down, you could also
Hmm,
block the
yeah.
lasers. Like that's a good point. It does have kind of some extra utility.
I wanna give a special shout out because I need to shout this out in any Metroidvania whenever this happens. And the first game that I ever saw do this was Ori and the Blind Forest, and I loved it for it. But Ori and the Blind Forest knows that this is a Metroidvania, and it knows that you're gonna have a double jump, and so it's just like, we're just gonna give it to you right away. Like, you don't have to mess around. We're just, here's your double jump. It's like the second thing that you get in the game, and you get the double jump like extremely early in this game too. And I was just like, thank God, because it's so nice just being able to have that in a Metroidvania. So wanted to shout that out to for Islets. So thank you for giving us the double jump early. I will say too, there are a bunch of there's a couple different areas in the game that have really fun like unique gimmicks that aren't abilities per se. Like, there's the one area where you get like this orb, and when you have this orb on you, you have one really high jump, and it's not like a ability that lasts forever, but it's just something cool that like you have, and you use it to traverse through that area. And yeah, like when you get the wall climb later, it kind of takes away from that ability. But there's another area too where there's like these clouds, and like if you go through one end of the cloud, you pop up from the top. So there's a lot of like great puzzles that use that as well. So I thought it was kind of nice because like they're kind of giving you these quasi abilities without like making them a part of like your permanent arsenal. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I liked those. I really did. I just, this is actually goes back to where I was saying like, I wish he went a little deeper. Like, I love the little light arrow, like the light jump thing. It's just this one thing. You can't, so it's really cool. When you get it, you can't jump, otherwise you use it. So the way the puzzles would work is like you have to like roll off a platform, like conserve your jump, get as far as you can down this corridor without jumping, and then use your one magic jump.
Yeah.
But I wish it lasted long. Like, I mean, not the ability. I wish the puzzle area, like I wanted more of it because it was fun. It was challenging. I liked it. And same thing with the cloud area. I mean, it came up a couple times. It actually came up again during a boss fight, which was cool. But I just wish there was a little more to it. But they're really cool abilities. I did like those as well.
The last thing that the last ability that stuck out for me anyways was there's actually an ability that you get for your ship, which it's kind of like that arrow that we talked about earlier, where like you can shoot a little thing and like trade spots with it. I actually think that helped like fairly significantly for me doing this bullet hell thing, which I've said I'm not a bullet hell guy, and that to me like kind of really helped me just navigate all the stuff coming at me, because if it was too much, I was like, ugh, and I got out of there. So there's not a lot of upgrades that you can get for your ship, but that one was a good one. I liked it. Came a little bit late in the game, but hey.
Yeah, well, I mean, you needed it for it. Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but hey, but you needed it though. But I liked that one as well. That was cool.
A cat and a dog down here. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. My cat, he was wandering. I'm like, please don't jump up here right now. Please don't jump up here right now.
Oh boy. Yeah. So those abilities I thought were pretty good. I want to talk about the map of this game, because I think like a crucial ingredient to any Metroidvania is a good map, and luckily, I think that this one is just a very good map overall. Like, again, simple and nice. But what it does that I really like is it's kind of like a tale of two maps, because you can zoom out and get like the classic Metroidvania grid-based map and like that we're all used to. But you can also zoom in, and again, I keep throwing this game out there, but it's very Ori and the Blind Forest, where like you can see like the topography and like the actual layout of the map, which is or of all the different rooms, which is very cool. So I think that the map, again, simple, but like very, very effective.
Yeah, I liked that. Actually, it's funny. I had that exact same thing in my notes. I loved it because, like, yeah, you zoom out, you've got the Super Metroid grid look. You zoom in, you've got that nice, like, oh, this is what this room actually is. The one thing I wish it did have though were like sub area names, because there was some puzzles where it's like, if you go back to the Forgotten Rots, it's like, well, where is that again exactly? Like, I wish just like some sort of overlay of some of the sub area names that would have been really helpful.
Yeah.
Also, this game desperately needs a mini map. Oh my god, please! Like, I so many times I'm just walking through and it's like I don't want to have to keep pausing the game just so I can see where I am. It's like I wish this game had a mini map. That would have gone a long way for this.
Right. I think I was okay without a mini map. I wouldn't have minded some markers, perhaps, that you could put on the map to come back to.
Custom markers?
Yeah, custom markers. Yeah. But yeah, I will say I do wish that it did have area names for sure, because there's a lot of different areas in this game. And I guess we should actually talk about the structure of the map too. So the entire game, Islets, is based around these 5 separate islands that you are trying to bring together. And each island has, I don't know, like 3, maybe 4 sometimes even, like little sub areas on them. So there is a ton of different areas that you can traverse in this game. And actually, one really cool thing about this is that you'll hit a bunch of dead ends on the map. And when you connect the islands together, so each island has like a little magnet that you have to activate, and that's what zaps the islands together. And when you connect them together, it opens up, those dead ends turn into connecting points into another area on the map. So I really liked that gimmick. I thought that it was very cool. But yeah, so there's a ton of area names. So having at least having like a name at the teleport stations would have, I think, really helped or went a long way to kind of like remembering what's what and everything like that.
Yeah, I really like that too. The main gimmick of the game. That was one of the main draws. That when I know when GameWyrm, when he suggested it, I'm like, oh, hey, that's cool. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
and 'cause it is cool. Like you'll find these dead ends, and then like you said, the map that it comes together. But then there's like these other dead ends that you didn't even know quite existed yet, and then like you go to those, and it's like it's a new creative way of like opening up part of the map. We're so used to Metroidvania, like having an ability allow you to explore a new part of the map. This one, it's actually the world itself, like coming together creates like the new pathways. It was a cool idea. I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and like I really like how they mark on the map too. It's like a little like gray chain or something like that, so you know that you can go there and explore it even if you haven't been there already. So it's done. I thought it was done really well actually. And another good thing about this map as well is you can, like we mentioned earlier, you can buy like upgrades for your map. So for example, you can say like, hey, I want the teleport stations to heal me every time that I go there, or the one that costs the big money is the one that shows you all of the secret abilities on the map. And there are a ton of them, by the way, which we'll get to in a bit. And that's the one that I saved up for like right away. I was like, I need this right away. This will pay itself off.
You and I are the same. We want 100% this thing. So.
Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, if you do that, the bosses also get dramatically easier. So true. And getting around the map too. Like there is a ton of different teleport stations. So, like I would say each area probably has 2 or 3 or maybe even more. So you can usually get to where you need to go fairly quickly by using the teleport stations. So I think the design of the map, the actual like navigating the map, I think it was like this is like take a shot for every time I say this, but it was simple, it was functional, it was easy to navigate, and did its job really well.
Yeah, just about that though, teleports. That actually was something I think that worked really well with this whole gimmick of like the map coming together. So the islands, like you have to discover the islands in the pirate ship, right? Right at the start of the game, you have access to one island, and you can unlock teleports. You can teleport all throughout that island, but you get in your ship, you go off, you find a new island, you connect them together. Now you can actually teleport between the 2 islands because they're actually connected now. That was a really cool, like almost reward for connecting the islands, because now you don't have to go fly all the way around in your ship again.
Yeah, actually, good point.
Right there. It was really nice. I actually really liked that. That was a cool way to kind of just open up some fast travel.
I will say, so we talked earlier about how when you died to a boss, you're like right outside. Not the case when you're in the airship, which was kind of a pain in the butt. And I died a lot, but I digress. So let's talk about the areas. I have, there are a few areas that stuck out to me, but tell me if you agree with this. I think that a lot of the areas, like while you're in them, are very fun. A lot of them have like some unique gimmicks to them, like the jump thing we talked about, or the clouds. I would say that like the areas aren't like so dissimilar from each other that I was just like, oh, like this one like really stuck out. There are a few that did stick out, but I think by and large, like they kind of blend together a little bit for me. But that being said, like it's not like they're not fun. It's not like they don't look good, sound good, anything like that. It's just like maybe that there's like so many areas in this game that it's kind of just like, okay, like now I'm in like my 20th area of the game. Like what's this one called again? The music sounds sort of similar to the one that came before it. So I don't know. I actually don't even know if this is a critique or not. It's just something that I noticed. Like in the game. Like there are a few areas I thought that really stuck out, but I would say most of them kind of felt like I don't know, like not like incredibly distinct from each other. Did you have that same kind of experience?
I mean, I'm trying to, and I'm thinking on top of my head, the areas. I mean, there may be some sub areas that were very similar to others, but overall, I had a pretty distinct, I felt like change. I mean, it was very much a color scheme change a lot of times. Because again,
Yeah.
this game's not over stylized. You're not seeing a lot of like, whatever, like, just design structures
There's not
there
like
just
a
for the
lot of
sake of
stuff
design.
on the map. Like there's not like
No,
crazy
no.
trees or ice on the ground or whatever, right?
Right,
Like
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like my favorite spot, I think in the end, I mean, it was a toss between like the Spirits Landing and Forgotten Rots. I think that's actually what it's called.
right.
Um, those two very much stuck out. Like the Spirits Landing. I mean, you've got spirits. It's very purpley. Spirits
I would
floating
agree.
around.
The Spirits
And then
Landing
like
is
the
the one that
Forgotten Rots.
I made a mark of, and I was like, this looks. I
Oh,
actually
it's
like
awesome.
when you go
Awesome.
there, there are like these ghostly spirits, and they look like fish bones, and there's like they're swirling around, and
Oh,
it
it's so
looks
cool.
awesome. It looks breathtaking, actually. Like so that I was just like, wow, like this looks incredible, and that is definitely the one that stuck out to me for sure.
That's actually the area that really got me thinking with Spirited Away. It's actually
Yeah.
one of the bosses there. One of them. I think there's more than one there, but it was the grave boss because what you do is, it was like I guess spoiler. I think at this point, right? We've already kind of spoiled a lot here, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, when you beat this guy, it ends up it's actually a friendly spirit underneath. It's like, oh, he was just all dirt and grime. You cleaned him
Yeah.
up. Thank you so much. He's actually a friendly spirit. I'll go bring him back. And that reminded me of Spirited Away, where when she has to clean it, this nasty spirit comes in. Everyone's like, oh my god, and they're running away. And I forgot the main character's name, but she does a heck of a job. And like she cleans the spirit, and it winds up it's this like water spirit, and
Yeah.
it's like thank you, and it's like it was actually this friendly thing. That's what it just made me really think of that.
Yeah, I
That's a great
totally.
area though.
Actually, when you said Spirited Away earlier, I instantly was thinking of this area and like all the
Yeah,
spirits floating around and stuff like
yeah.
that. I would say a couple other areas that stuck out to me. One was the clockwork area because that one had like a lot of very cool like wall climbing kind of puzzles, like where you'd climb on the wall, but it would sink as you were on it.
Yeah,
So you had to be kind of like zip zapping across and
I like
climbing up
those.
and avoiding that. Those are like again a classic kind of 2D adventure staple, but when done well, are really effective. And the pits, I thought was like the garbage area was a great one. Actually, so that one had like the garbage compactor that you
Yeah,
needed to
yeah.
outrun, which I thought was great
Oh,
and really, again, reminded me of Ori and the Blind Forest when you have to outrun the big raven.
I
So
was thinking Digger Knot.
or yeah, actually the Diggernaut
I
too.
was thinking Digger Knot.
Um, so that area I thought was really cool. Pretty much the whole like last island is pretty gruesome, dark, like
Yeah,
kind of scary.
yeah, yeah. But go back to the Clockwork Place. I gotta agree. I loved those little like yeah, you jump on them. Like you had to like almost. So I said you don't have wall jumping. You can essentially wall jump, and like there's puzzle in this one where like you're jumping on a log and it's slowly like falling down into spikes. And you have to like
Hmm.
jump to the other one. I loved those. But just I'm curious, what did you think of the main boss of that area? What were you think? I felt weird. Like I couldn't tell. Is he actually a bad guy?
Is that the one with the charming receptionist? That or
Uh,
is that a
he's
golem?
no,
I
it was the owl dude who like he was the clockwork maker. And was he an owl? No, maybe not an owl, but he was like he
Oh yeah, yeah, the clockmaker. He was the
yeah.
old mouse dude. I thought that boss fight was really fun actually because that one also had the like the platforms that were moving, the stuff coming from the sides and like that. That was a really fun boss fight actually.
I
I
know, I
would
love the
almost
fight.
say I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but I would almost
Hmm.
say that I would apply the same. Again, I don't know if it's a critique or not, but like I would say that like there's a lot of bosses that to me like felt somewhat similar, and I don't think
Yeah,
that's like bad, but like a lot of them kind of have like the same thing, like you have to dodge all of the projectiles and then hit it when you have a chance. Like they kind
right,
of
right.
blended together a little bit for me. There are a few that stuck out, but they blended together a little bit for me.
Yeah, that was I mean that was one of my critiques as well. I'm with you on that. I think the boss is almost like this is kind of like not a weakness of the game, but they're all very much learn the attack pattern. Like you
Yes.
said, dodge the bullets.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your chance to hit. get a few swings in. That was basically every boss. But
Pretty
I mean,
much.
some of them were cool though. I mean, some of them were cool fights. I did actually. I loved fighting the spirit, the thousand spirits one.
Yeah,
That
I
was
had that
probably
one
my
marked down
favorite
now
boss.
because that one was a
I
great
like that
fight.
one. I like that. I think that was
Um,
the one in the trailer too. That was one of the ones they highlighted in the trailer because like
yeah.
that was a cool fight.
One actually, what I did forget to mention an area, and I can't remember the name of the area. It was a garden of some sorts, but this garden you had to track down like all the seeds that you needed to plant.
Yeah.
I thought that was fairly charming as well, and I'm kind of like a sucker for those foresty areas in my adventure games, so I did like that area as well.
That had the cloud. That was the one that introduced the cloud jumping. That was a
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
area.
that's right.
I like that. And you got the seeds, and you like slowly unlock the next level. It was I enjoyed that. That was a good area.
Um, so yeah, so like there's tons and tons of different areas, and like we said, you can kind of peel back the layers a little bit on the areas when you actually sync the islands together as well. So it's very well done. I want to talk briefly about the music because I would say that I really did enjoy the music. Of this game, it kind of reminded me of Tunic a lot, and there's lots of different great like tracks in this game, but there's one that sticks out to me a lot, and it's because you hear it over and over and over and over again, and that is the boss theme. And I
Yeah.
don't know if this is the same with you, but like that theme totally reminds me of Super Smash Bros. Melee, like dude, or maybe
Oh.
it's Brawl, like the main menu where it's like do 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 do, like that
I guess
the
I
boss
wasn't getting
theme.
that. It's been a while.
Anybody who is going to play this Islets game, which you all should, by the way, it's a great game. Go and listen to this theme and tell me it does not sound exactly like Super Smash Bros. Every time I was hearing it, I was doing the little bop along like I was playing Brawl in 2008.
It was good. The one thing I didn't like though, I didn't actually. I felt the boss theme was a little underwhelming. I guess I wished it was more like not Axiom Verge boss per se, because like I don't want the sci-fi oohs and wahs. Like sorry Doom. That's technical language right there.
Yeah.
Uh, Doominal. But anyways, like I don't know. It was okay. I guess I would have preferred something a little more upbeat on that.
It was okay. I
Yeah.
think that particular theme was okay, but like it's just the theme that you hear the most because every boss has that theme, which
It was the same theme.
it was the same theme, so it was just kind of like, all right, whatever. I would say that again, I think that the music was simple and that it was good and it didn't. I wouldn't say that the soundtrack was incredible, but I would say that like while you were in each area, the music I think complemented each area. Not
Yeah.
necessarily that you may disagree. I don't know that any particular track, other than like the main one when you first get on the island, I don't know that any of those tracks like stuck out to me. But I do think that they complemented the area while you were in them, and they sound like good while you're exploring.
Generally speaking, for me, they felt just very calming. Like I honestly, there was
Yeah,
times I felt like I was playing Minecraft. Like it was just I could have just sat there all day, like just like la 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 la. Like it was very calming. The ruins though, that theme did kind of stick out for me a little bit. That one, I don't know what it was. It was like it seemed very fitting. Like it was just that one for some reason sticks out for me.
mm,
But overall, it was just I say the music was very calming, just kind of a chillax kind of theme
yeah.
throughout.
So yeah, like simple, got the job
Yeah, yeah,
done. Certainly, I think that if you could put a soundtrack together that like doesn't have any stinkers, I think that that's like an accomplishment in and of itself. Even like the boss battle theme, which we kind of beat up on, I feel
yeah,
like that one is fine. It's just like you just hear it so often that it's just like all
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Um,
I would not have minded like a second theme or
I
some,
agree.
something else for a boss.
Or
But
at least
yeah,
something for like the last boss or like the golems
yeah,
that you end up fighting. Let's talk about this game's story. So
yeah.
it's not like a completely story driven game, but there is like some stuff that you can sink your teeth into. So um, the story goes like this: there used to be a big island, and it broke apart into 5 separate islands, and this great hero put it back together, but over time it broke apart again. And you are playing as Eco, a down on his luck mouse, trying to be the new hero, trying to reunite the world together. So that's pretty much like the gist of the premise of this game. One thing that this game uses, I don't know how you would describe this, like Animal Crossing talk. Like whatever characters
Oh,
talk is like blah
oh,
blah blah blah
oh,
blah. Blah.
oh my God! No, I had this is exactly what it is. Okay, if you anyone out there, if you've played 7 billion humans, I'm telling you, it's identical. Go listen to it after this, Andy. I'm telling you, it is exactly. I was playing it. I'm like, wow, this is exactly 7 billion humans. It's like blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
It sounds like those KK Slider like remix songs. Like so I was playing this game, and every time a character would talk, my dog was just like, "Wow, what is that?" and like look over and just get all like up and alert and ready to pounce or whatever. Which ironically, my cat didn't care at all. You think that she would because they're mice, but so I thought that was kind of funny. But over the course of the game, you meet like a lot of like really charming characters actually. So the one that sticks out I think probably is Snoot, who is this like Snoot is kind of like Gary Oak to start off.
I was gonna right.
This guy keeps on saying he's like the biggest bragger, and he's just like, I've slayed 1,000 monsters and blah 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 blah, and like you keep on doing these exceptional things, and Snoot keeps on being like, you should be my assistant and stuff, and like he's like a classic heel character, but he does come around at the end, which is very charming. But
it is actually. I gotta say, I actually didn't. I'm usually one to. I love a good cry, okay, but I didn't get quite teary. But the end, you know what? It was nice.
It was very sweet.
Like, you know what? You're okay, Ico. Was it Ico? I kept saying Ico. I think I'm used to Ico from like ICO, but I kept calling it. But anyways, yeah. You just want to like a couple times. You just want to slap him. Like, well, for the love of God, you didn't do anything, Snoop.
I know. It was. And I was like, you're lying to me. I know you are. And it turns out he is, and he has kind of a nice moment where he's like, I just wanted to think here, for you to think that I was cool or whatever by slaying all these monsters. And so Snoot comes around at the end, and you also meet a nice character called Greybird who wants to be a hero, but is feels very powerless. And then like he kind of grows in strength and courage over the game. Actually, so the ending has Greybird and Snoot basically like fighting these 3 golems and buying you some time to save the world, which I thought was like very charming, actually.
Cool. Actually, yeah, I liked it. And just gotta say, gee, Greybird, I wonder where that inspiration came from.
Yeah. Little on the nose.
I appreciate it though. I really do. I appreciate games that wear their colors on their, like, whatever the expression is.
Yeah.
But I agree. I like that when the two of them like, you know what, we're just gonna help you out. We'll take care of this. You go take care of the big dude. That was nice.
There was another character. So there's a lot of like charming like little side characters. Like there's the tour guide who tries to lure you into a death trap, and like the one guy who gets turned into stone, and you can actually save him later in the game, which is very nice. But
I mean, don't forget Goba.
I was gonna say that's where I'll go next.
Yeah.
Goba.
Right, yeah, go for it.
Goba is like what would you classify her as? Like the receptionist for one of the golems?
Oh God, I don't know. I guess
it's so funny. She's like this crazy mouse. She's got like a little bit of Harley Quinn vibes going on almost, but she's not like dangerous. But like she's just like, my boss, the golem, and the golems are like the bad like guys of the game, like these giant monsters. And she's like, this is going to be so much fun. I'm taking you to meet the golem, and you're going to have a ton of fun at this party. And like the party is a ginormous boss battle. And she actually ends up saving you at the end of the game. So go figure. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, spoiler. But no, I love it. Like, yeah, she takes you over to the boss, but it's like, hey there, look, he's trying to take over the world. You want to kill him. You've got so much in common.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then just walks away, and it's like, thanks.
She was very, very charming. Yeah.
I love the drawings she does of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so she there's a mail system in this game, like a mailbox system. Like, you'll send letters, you get letters, things like that. Goba sends you this letter, and she makes this drawing. Like, hey, look, I was so inspired. I drew like your eyeballs, like where your face is supposed to be. Like everyone else is drawn normal, but you're like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
And then you get another picture later on. It's just the same thing. She draws you like an absolute doofus. It's funny.
Yeah, I think that like this game has a lot of like character, a lot of charm, which I know that story isn't like the biggest part in a lot of Metroidvania games, and it's not the biggest part in this game either. But I will say that like the great Metroidvania games understand like you still do need a purpose to everything that you're doing, and like when you have a cast of charming characters like this, even if there's not a lot to them, it really makes your experience a little bit more rewarding. Because like I felt like the final, like you said, like the final like moments of the game I thought were like very touching.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It kind of comes around on itself. Snoot has his own little arc. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you would not expect. This is not a, yeah, like you said, Metroidvanias. You're really here for the game. You're here for the exploration, the getting of abilities. Story, yeah, you want some, like you said, you want some purpose, which this game
Hmm.
delivers. I almost feel like the developer, he's like, he had this cool idea. He's like, oh shoot, I need a story to wrap this around. So
Yeah.
and we get the story, but it's actually kind of nice. It's cute, and yeah, I like it. It comes up to a nice ending.
Yeah, and I'm gonna the S word again. It's nice and simple. It doesn't try and be anything too complex. It's very easy to understand, very relatable. So for what it is, I really like the story and really like the characters. Which, by the way, actually, we kind of talked about some enemies, but I skipped over this. But I do want to give a shout out to the enemies of this game before I forget, because there's got to be like 60 plus unique enemies that you can fight in this game, which is like a lot. It reminds me a lot of the first Metroid, actually, where like there were so many different enemies for you to encounter. So and I think that the enemies in this game all look like very cool. Like a lot of them have like different orbs that shoot out at you and try and kill you and stuff like that. So um, it doesn't do what a lot of other games like this do, where like it kind of recolors some other enemies and makes them gray instead of red so that they're tougher or anything like that. So I do want to give a shout out to the enemy design. I thought that it was quite good.
Huh. That I gotta say, that's funny. I was actually on the opposite side of this. I felt like I could have used a little more enemy variety.
Okay.
I felt like there was like these hanging guys who shoot, then you can shoot. Like, I feel like they were almost reskinned a couple times, or like the gamers that are basically or the zoomers, right? Yeah, they're not actually zoomers, but like your
They're the
typical,
same
they don't
thing. Yeah.
they don't do anything. They just walk around. But there's like two of them that basically do that. Like then there's like those enemies that like they'll just kind of walk around like a thing shooting things out. And there's a couple that they differ slightly, but again, it's just so similar. I would have liked, I don't know. Part of me, I had felt like I could have used a little more variety in that
I
part.
think I don't know that I would disagree with you in terms of like I think a lot of the enemies like functioned similarly, but I think like in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of like
yeah,
the
yeah.
just the actual design of them, I was really impressed with them. I thought that like
Yeah,
for one guy hand drawing all these enemies, I was like, this is like pretty impressive. It did remind me a lot of like Nestroid.
that's a good point, actually. Again, this is by one person who did the art too. Yeah. So in that, yeah, don't get me wrong. These are not like you say recoloring of an enemy. That yeah, they do. Some of them have similar functions,
Mhm.
but they all have very different designs, which actually is a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think that you're like the critique about them functioning. I think is fair. And actually, now that you mention it, like there is like you can almost look at a Metroid enemy and be like, okay, this is the Islets equivalent of that enemy. This is the Islets equivalent of that enemy. It's again, it's kind of wearing its inspiration on its sleeve, but I think that that's okay. So we talked briefly about boss battles earlier. I did want to shout out another boss battle which I thought was very fun. So we talked about the Clockmaster. We talked about the Tomb of a Thousand Beasts. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that plant boss battle, and I really enjoyed that after that battle, the plant goes up into the sky and is like flying around. I don't. It's just it charmed me for some reason. I thought that it was one of the very few boss battles that like I didn't die a million times. I think I got it on like my second try.
Nice. That actually, I struggled with that one because like that was the one you had the two clouds. You had to at one point you had to like bounce off a cloud, and the dude is like
Yes.
dropping these things, and you have to like fall in between. Oh, that I actually died a lot on that one. But I do agree though when after like and so the plant is actually owned by the shopkeep dude who's in that area, and he's like, oh no, my plant ran
Yeah.
away, and so you bring it back, right? And then the next time, once you finish it all up, the area, you go back into the overworld, and there he is, like, hey, look, here's my plant. We're gonna go out on a vacation. And it's actually funny because at the end of the game, there's like this scrapbook thing you can look through, and like you got
Yeah.
pictures of this dude like sent you pictures like, here's us out on a trip, here's us over here. Like it's just funny. It's cute.
Yeah, it's very charming. Like I mean, the whole game is very charming, but that boss battle in particular just charmed me for some reason. Actually, the final fight with the golem is pretty sweet too. Like the final boss battle as well. Like even the parts where you have to do the airship portion of the final boss battle, which is essentially like repurposing the boss battles that you've already done prior. But I thought that the first part of that was really really fun. Um,
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
there was, oh God, I can't remember which one it was now, but I remember the boss that gave me the biggest trouble was I can't remember, but you have like the it has like it goes into the center and there's like the 5 clouds that go around it and you can jump for them and like you have like these projectiles shooting at you. It's insane. It was very I must have died like 50 times.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, but actually that reminds me, we totally skipped over a really cool. It's one of those like it's not an ability you get, but it's one of those like in environment things you can use. The grapple hooks. I loved those things. So there's when you're traversing the map, and sorry, I say this because the boss battle that Andy's talking about, it actually like they're present. You have to use
Yes.
those while you're fighting. But the idea is it's this like if you get close enough and you attack, you'll like you'll grapple, you sort of grapple it. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of something. Maybe Ori had something similar where you could like you could attack those things and kind of keep jumping.
Yeah, I would say the closest that you can get to is Ori or yeah. If you played a Metroidvania, you probably see it as a similar mechanic where like you can continually keep jumping if you're able to hit an enemy. This one there's like different grapple points and like they're used to very good effects in the map and traversing and stuff like that. But they're also using boss battles too, which is like this particular boss battle I was thinking of was like so tough. It was so tough, but to be fair, a lot of the boss battles were pretty tough the first time that you get them.
They were.
Okay, I want to talk
well, actually,
about.
okay, one sec. Just want to say for that boss, I actually the final boss when you mentioned, I do want to say I kind of appreciate it. It was almost like a mini boss rush. That was kind of nice. It was like because it was all
bit,
four main ones, kind of hitting you like in turn order, and then it was the 4 pirates. And like like mini versions though, because like it wasn't the full fight.
Yeah.
And then you had like this final sequence. But I did enjoy that though. I really liked that.
I will say I was complaining earlier about the bullet hell stuff, and by the time that we got to redoing those first couple boss battles, it was like this is significantly easier with my like teleporter and like my gun that I have. And I guess it's worth mentioning too, like I know I was dumping on the bullet hell parts, but the actual like graphics of the bullet hell part I thought looked very cool because they come at you in like some kind of cool designs, like it's like a big fish or like a DNA strand or something like that, and then it breaks up and you got bullets everywhere. But it looks cool beforehand.
It does.
So at least it has that going for it. All right, let's
what were you saying?
Let's talk about some extras here, just odds and sods and whatever. So we talked a little bit about this, but this game has like a ridiculous amount of just hidden upgrades that you can get. There's 60 in total actually, and I would say so. I do like them because there's some really good upgrades that you can get. More health, you can get more, more powerful. You can level up your bow and stuff like that. I will say that much like Metroid, the act of finding them is more rewarding than a lot of the expansions themselves or the upgrades themselves. And I think that's just kind of like there comes a certain point where like you don't need for your bow to be any more powerful, but like you want to get all of them. And like you run into the same thing with every Metroid game where like it's like, do I really need another power bomb expansion? No, but like I got to get 100%. So I do think that this game has a little bit of that going on, but I really like there are some pretty unique ones there. Like you find an upgrade and you can free the guy that gets turned into stone, which I thought was cool. Some of them, like I said earlier, if you do get stuck on a boss, you can go and find an upgrade and you can like upgrade your sword or whatever. And there are some different ways that you can get upgrades too, which I kind of like. Like first and foremost, like if you speak the Metroidvania language, which I think we probably do, and a lot of people listening to this probably do, you can kind of look and be like, that looks like a little secret nook that might have something that I can go explore. And often there is. Or like there is also these rooms where you kind of have to use your grapple hook to like trace a star or whatever, and then you can upgrade. Or there's some combat rooms, or there's like puzzles. So I think that the actual act of getting these upgrades is like pretty cool. Like it's a little bit of exploration, it's a little bit of puzzle solving, it's a little bit of like combat. So I think overall, like I really enjoyed getting the hundo on this game.
Yeah, I basically everything you said. I really loved him as well. I liked it. It feels like you get like a mini way of customizing your playthrough. You know, it's like
bit, yeah.
The only thing I didn't like is I wish they would stop offering currency. My goodness, Like so many times I'd have an option of like you can increase your attack by one, or you can have 200 currency. It's like, that I wish that they could have done away with. But overall, I liked getting them. I loved those star challenges. It's basically like a
Yeah.
time trial of like platforming through. It was really cool.
Yeah, and you can use like the grapple hook or the wall climb or like all these different things, like the cloud
Right.
arrows. So lots of different ways that you can do it. I didn't mind the currency actually because I think to upgrade your health is only like 400. So if you got the
Yeah, so
currency, it was like half of that. So I was like, okay, I'll go spend it and get a potion or something like that.
all
Um,
right, all right.
but I do, like you said, I think you can customize it a little bit because I don't think, like, I think that there is like more upgrade possibilities than there are actual upgrades. So like you can pick and choose and be selective about which ones you actually want to have. Now, granted, like they might just be like enemies create a bigger explosion or like power up your bow again, but I'm pretty sure that you can't get all the upgrade abilities. You know what I mean? Like even on the last one, there was still like three options to choose from.
Right. Yeah, and there's some really cool ones too. I mean, I actually like you can really improve some of your actual main abilities. Like your slam, it's like the one where you jump up and you come down and drive your sword down below. I mean, you could actually you could increase. So when you do that, there's like a blast radius that kind of shoots off from your sides. You can increase how far that goes, and then also you can even further make it so there's like this like these side arrows that shoot out of it as well. So you
Yeah.
can really improve that. I was using that thing like crazy by the end of the game. There's also like when you can improve your jump so that you have a downward arrow that shoots every time you double jump, and you
Hmm.
can improve that again to make it like shoot more than one arrow. It's cool. There's some really
That
cool
was a
upgrades
good
kind of
one.
tucked away in there.
You know what was a really good one too is like there's an ability that causes if you get hit, you will then like shoot off some orbs or
Oh, I
arrows or
love
something
that
like
one.
that.
Yes,
That was very valuable because I got hit a lot, and it was
I
nice to at
beat a
least dish
boss with
something
that
back
thing.
out.
I beat a boss with that thing at one point. I was like last hit. That thing saved my butt. That was a cool ability for sure.
Yeah. So and there's tons of different cool abilities in this game. And there's even a cool little side quest, which you have to do if you want to get all the abilities here. But kind of like a nice little thing to go back and do. You get like you saying you have a letterbox and you get this mysterious letter that shows up and it's kind of giving you some vague hints of where to go on the map. And I think there's like 3 or 4 spots that you need to follow it to, and you need to do something in order to activate the next area or whatever. So I like that little challenge. Not much to it, but at least it was like something a little bit extra to do in the game. And you got an
Yeah.
extra boss fight of it, even if it wasn't a new boss fight
Uh,
per se.
that was disappointing though. That was disappointing. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna tell you. You want to know what the boss is? You gotta play the game. Um,
I will say if you this is a boss that I did not die to. I'll put it that way.
the first one, yeah, like the one, yeah, I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I
this is
died
the
to it the
one.
first time, but not the second.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This one, that's the one where I wish there were sub area names, because this is where it was like it would tell you to go somewhere, like go to this place, and it's like, oh, I don't remember where that is,
Yeah.
and you have to like find it. But I
But
liked it. I
I
liked the
will
little
say that you can. This is where the map really stood out to me because you can go like. Here's a spoiler, so if you don't want to listen to this, fast forward. But there is one point where it's telling you to like go to a mass grave in this area, and I do wish that they had sub names for sure. But
yeah,
I finally when you zoom into the map and you get out of the grid base,
yeah.
you can see and you're like, okay, there's some graves here. Maybe it's here, and sure enough, it was. So I will give it that, but I can't agree with you more. Like I wish that there
That's
was
a good
sub
point, though.
names.
I actually didn't realize that until after the fact. So
Oh
I was just wandering around. Actually, I kind of looked it up at one point. I'm like, you know what? I can either spend an hour looking this up, and I'm just or wandering around, but I did not realize that until after the fact, which was
yeah.
too bad.
So yeah, if you do that, you get like 2 bonuses for getting 100% of this game, and I think that both are fairly fun. So first is you get the boss rush mode, which is pretty cool because like these bosses are pretty fun. But actually, I really liked there's like I don't know what you call it, like a secret area, and it's a house, and it's all the characters in this game
Love
just
it.
having a party, and it's
It
awesome.
wraps the story, it rounds the story out
Yeah.
so well. Like it's so nice.
Um,
It
and then like there's a jukebox, and you can listen to all the music in the game. Like there's Snoot, and he's kind of making himself out to be this big hero, and Greybird is doing his thing, and it's just like a really nice bookend on the game. I thought, again, it was very charming and just very sweet.
So really funny though, I gotta say about that, when you're at the jukebox, Goba is standing next to it. If you talk to Goba, she goes like, "Oh, I love music, but I only remember how to dance to one song. If you turn on the one song, like you can cycle through songs that she'll actually start dancing. But then if you switch to another song, she'll stop. But then you put it
That's
back on.
fantastic.
She can only dance to the one song. It's so cute. I love that whole area. That was fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, like this to me was like the actual like real reward for getting 100%. It was nice just to, it's kind of nice just to have like an area where like there's no enemies, there's no danger. It's just nice to go and see these characters that you've kind of grown fond of throughout the course of this adventure. So it was a really good way to cap off the game. I know that our final stats are different, but so I ended up with 100%, and I think just under 10 hours, like 9 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. I think I might have beat your time just by a little bit.
Yeah, I think you beat my time. So I did hard 100%, and it took me 130 hours. So how about that? One of the longest games I've played.
That's value.
So fun fact, when you're playing this game, and actually I'll touch on it. I think there's a reason why now. But anyways, if you pause the game, the clock doesn't start. Even if you go into standby mode with your Switch, the game time does not stop. So I had started like on like Saturday morning, and it got to be like Sunday evening. I'm like, I guess the clock's still running. Oops. And I just didn't care at that point. But I think one thing that that this game, with the simplicity of it all and the way the map is designed, I almost feel like that he was really trying to make this for speedrunning. Just I don't know. It really felt like he had speedrunning in mind when he was making this, because like there's so many areas I feel like where there's like parts in like that break up like a certain corridor for no other reason but to just be a stumbling block of like breaking your momentum type thing, or but if you know it well enough, you can kind of work through it. I don't know. And then the whole clock thing, it would make me. It just overall, I felt like this game was almost intended for speedrunning.
I have no doubt. Yeah, I have no doubt that was probably like a factor as well. Like I think a lot of these 2D Metroids have like, I mean, Axiom Verge literally has like a speedrunning mode where you can have like your breaks and your time and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if this was something that we like don't see run like pretty frequently here. So yeah, that's Islets. It's a fantastic Metroidvania. Really enjoyed it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like in the upper echelon of Metroidvanias. Like I think you clearly still have like your Oris and your Axiom Verges, and then those are the truly great ones. But I think that this one is like right up there in that kind of class below, which is like it's a really fun adventure. It's gonna hold you over for some 2D Metroid until the next time, whenever that may be, that we get a game that comes out. Very charming, very familiar. Like I think that it's nice when you play a game like this, you can pick it up and it feels like familiar like right away. So but not overly familiar either. Like it does have a lot of new stuff going on, a lot of cool areas. So I was really impressed by this game. I really liked it, actually. I think that it was very solid, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you love the Metroidvanias, this is absolutely, check it out. It's $20 on Switch right now. I think that's not bad at all. It's like worth $20 for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's not a long game, but it's fun. Like Andy, like you said, it's just a cute story. I will say, I don't know, we didn't really talk about, but sequence breaking. I don't know if you found any like little secrets, but I did find that there is something you can do to kind of break some sequence, which was cool. Really? I may have to go back and try to see if I can do like bosses in a different order type thing. But if you use like the charge shot, you can like like those like you can unlock parts of the map in betweens, like those gray blocks. You could kind of cut through it and get it on the wrong side. It was kind of cool. So I'm gonna have to go back and try it out, see if there's little areas I can do that with. But anyways, yeah, it's a great game. I totally recommend it.
Yeah, totally. And so yeah, this is it's available pretty much anywhere that you want to pick up this game. It's on the Switch, it's on Steam, it's on your Xbox, it's on PlayStation. Check it out. Really fun game. I think that you'll have a good time with it. Daniel, thank you for hanging out with me today, my dude. How was your first Omega podcast appearance?
Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This a lot of fun. Hey, come on. You get to come on and talk about a fun game like Islets. It was a pleasure to come on here. So thank you very much for having me on.
Well, thank you for playing this game and doing the show with me. And shout out to GameWyrm for recommending this game to us. You nailed it out of the park, buddy. All right, well that is going to do it for us for this week. And man, we got like a whole slew of good stuff coming after this week. So last week was Alien. This week is Islets. But after this, we are doing like 3 solid weeks of Metroid Prime to celebrate the 20th anniversary, and then immediately after 3 solid weeks of Metroid Fusion to celebrate that 20th anniversary. So there's a whole heckin' lot of Metroid stuff coming up here on the show in the next couple weeks, and we hope that you'll stick around with it. Until then, check us out over on Twitter. I am at Spateri316. Daniel is at A Fallen Apple, and we are at Omega Metroid Pod, and you can check out OmegaMetroid.com for all your Metroid needs, guides, maps, articles, news, all that good stuff. Check it out. And, wherever you get your podcast, like and subscribe. Leave us 5-star reviews, all that fun stuff. Until next week, everybody, take care.
See you.